Hi everyone, welcome to another chapter of Voices of Experience. Today our special guest is Shamekka Marty. For those who don't know her yet, she has a very long list of specialties, but on top of those, she's a speaker, an educator, she's an amazing patient advocate, and she's also the founder of Beyond the Game Health. So she's working, and we're gonna find out more later, in the intersection between health, tech, and sports to make sure that people, and especially those with chronic conditions, are actually seen and supported. I'm really excited for this chapter. I want to dig deeper into your journey and then how you became the person that you're in today. And I want to try to focus on things that people might not know of you. So there's going to be a bunch of questions where we can get to those details. But before we start, welcome to today's chapter. And how are you feeling today? How's your day?
I am very tired, but I am happy to be here. Any day above ground is a great day.
It
Thank you
is.
for
It
asking.
is.
And yourself, you know what? You have to tap in with yourself. How are you doing?
I'm actually really excited about this chapter. I admire you. The few conversations we've had so far, I love your energy, and I want to bring that out to the world. I know you have done it in many other podcasts and articles, but this feels special for the ImYoo community. So before we get started, can you take us back to your journey through your lupus diagnosis and other diagnoses? I want to take it back and understand what that was like for you.
So my journey is a little bit different than most people's journey. It wasn't something that I was navigating through that I already did not know because my mother had it. And not only did my mother have it, but my grandmother had severe rheumatoid arthritis. So for me, it was like, oh crap, now I have it. What do I do? And when I was finally diagnosed, because it just like probably 99.9% of the people, the diagnosis came after a multitude of things that were just happening over a series of time.
Yes.
And so when it finally happened and I started to see some things that were occurring, I'm like, it has to be this, it has to be this. And I knew exactly what to test for. So I was a patient that was in the know. It wasn't like a ton of bricks hit me. It was a relief like, okay, not that I wanted it to happen, but I just knew that something to this degree was going to happen. And I completely changed my aspect of, all right, it happened to my family, now it happens to me. It's not why me, it's try me. And I was like, all right, I'm going to attack this thing. I am going to make sure that even though my mother didn't achieve remission, I'm going to achieve remission. So going into that mindset, and I know it's very, very hard, but for me, and given the circumstances, that's the reason why.
Did you have to advocate for what tests you wanted done at the doctor? You did. And
Yes.
then it kind of felt like a relief once you were diagnosed, not because you wanted to have it, but because you could take a course of action now, knowing.
I was
Okay.
trying to be
And
proactive. I knew exactly
yes.
what tests to ask for, which was and correct me if I'm wrong if there's something new, but at the time it was called a full rheumatic panel. And so it would be regular, not, let me just take it back, not regular than a metabolic panel or CBC. They really needed to dig into it. So every year when I did my yearly checkup, I would ask for them to add it on. It got to the point where they were like, stop, are you trying to have it? And I said, no, I'm trying to be proactive here because I don't want to be caught off guard. And I think that even when people are going through a diagnosis and they don't know and they keep saying something's coming up, when I'm contacted, I'm like, well, ask them for this, okay? Because they usually don't test for lupus or any type
Yes.
of autoimmune condition. It could be Hashimoto's, it could be Lyme's disease. They're all in the same family.
Yeah, absolutely. I've talked to patients that it took them over 6 years to get the doctor to do the test. So I'm glad they listened to you. And
I
then
kind of have a way. I make them listen to me.
you do, maybe you can share some advice on that. But and then looking back, is there something before your diagnosis that you missed that nowadays you can't do?
It was the biggest issue that I had was I had shingles, and I was, God, how old was I? I want to say it was 25, 25, 26. And when that happened, I was like, there's no reason why I should have shingles. First of all, I had chickenpox. And second of all, I'm not old. So why in the world is this happening? And they just said, oh, it just happens. It's because of stress. Stress, I know, ignites a lot of things. But that was my indication there, and they weren't looking for it. But then again, lupus wasn't blaring at the time, and it peaks out when it wants to. So it was one of those things where something was off, and I just kept trying to prove it, and I couldn't prove with the test. You know, when you ever go to the doctor and be like, oh, everything's fine, and you feel like internally somebody's lighting you on fire.
Yes, that happens a lot here with autoimmune diseases, for sure. And then on a positive note, what's something that you're really proud that you've accomplished for yourself?
I'm really proud that I've accomplished remission. That happened almost, I'm going to say 2 years ago. Right after a year after I had my kidney transplant. And so I didn't think that it was possible to happen. It was something that was a dream of mine because my mother passed away at 44, having lupus. And so it was an accomplishment because there's a lot of people that live with it and never even achieve that. They're going through the silent struggle. The flares that I have are unfortunate because I have several overlapping autoimmune conditions, but lupus specifically, I have no biomarkers for that right at this present time, and I get my blood work done twice a month.
And what do you think helped you achieve that remission?
I have a very different view of medicine. When I say that, it's coupled with mind, body, and soul. And it's not something that I'm saying, is like a hippie kind of thing. It honestly is something where there is no magic pill. That goes without saying. A lot of people just think, oh, I'll take something and it'll go away. That doesn't mean that your mind is right. Having the right regimen, I do everything in moderation. Trust me, when I first got diagnosed, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a huge organic freak. I'm not going to have any food. I'm going to be vegan. I'm this. And my body just went into like a tailspin. And it was like, what are you doing? It was, I cut out this and then I started doing this. And it wasn't that. It was everything in moderation. I can't cut everything out. My body did not like it. And what worked for me. Everybody else is completely different. There wasn't something I say, oh, if you follow this will happen. It was a series of things. My outlook on trying to think better, because honestly, you can ask anyone if they're honest with themselves. Sometimes we talk to ourselves worse than ever.
I can't believe it.
Making sure that my mind was right, following with the doctor, help them help you, journaling everything that I eat, the things that I do, the activity, make it a science project.
You give advice, and a lot of people look up. How do you say this in English? Okay.
¿Cómo se dice?
¿Cómo se? Mira, tú hablas español, claro. Que la gente te pide consejo. They come to you for advice.
For advice.
Okay, so I'm keeping this. So a lot of people come to you for advice. Athletes, patients, and also people in the industry. And there's a lot in social media and on your website about what you've become an expert and what you can share with the world. But what's one thing that people don't know about you that you can share with us today?
One thing that they don't know about me is that I've had to grow up before I even had my kids. They know that I was a young mom. I got pregnant when I was 16, had my son when I was 17. I had 2 kids by the time I was 19. That's something I always talk about. But a lot of people don't know that I was really kicked into high gear as an adult at 10 years old. I was making funeral arrangements at 14 years old. So that's one thing that people don't realize about me, to take things back, why I'm so resilient and why I can handle a lot of things. So that's why when people are like, oh, well, she can do it. And I'm like, you didn't have to experience that. I mean, I could say like the fun stuff that I did, like, oh, my family is this, and this. But fun fact that I don't advertise besides that, if you've ever watched the Jimmy Fallon show, if you are not a hip hop person, you would know who the Roots are, because if you watch Jimmy Fallon, the house band, the person that leads that band is my cousin. So that is a fun fact that you have to dig like really, 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 really hard into my pictures to see that fun fact. I don't advertise that
That's a cool
because
one.
people are like, "Oh, that's so cool. Can I meet him?" And I'm like, "Yo, I try to meet him. I try to meet him every time he's in town. Like he's a very busy person."
Busy person. Yeah, but the first one, this is a cool fact. Thank you for sharing, but really thank you for sharing the first one. It's very personal and it does show why or how you became the person that you are today, resilient and very forward with how you like you get things done fast and well, and you had to learn that from an early age. And what motivated you to speak up and advocate for health?
Because I saw what happened to my family members when my grandmother had severe rheumatoid arthritis, which made her bedridden. She had a voice per se. I mean, she was able to speak, but she didn't have a voice. And at that time, there wasn't the internet in the 80s and 90s. So when it became, and it still happens to this day, where Medicare and Medicaid made cuts to your health care. So it became the fact that she had a home health aide 7 days a week. Then all of a sudden, it became 5 days, then 3 days. And because I had to jump into the days when they weren't coming in, because not only was my grandmother sick, my mom was sick, and I'm in the household, it's me and my little brother, and my mom's like, "You're going to have to step up and help." I saw exactly what was happening. I kept saying, like, "Why isn't such and such coming?" They didn't have an explanation for me. And then when I started to get older and figure things out, and I was like, if this is happening to her, this is happening to a lot of people. And that's why I wanted to speak up about it, because my mom wasn't a person that was going to advocate. If something happened to me and my brother, yeah, she's going to like rip the school apart. But when it came to her and my grandmother, they were very docile. They didn't really speak about it. And I grew up in the age where you were seen, not heard. And I was like, okay, I just can't wait for the day that I could be heard. And I'm just sucking in all this stuff. And then once I was able to, that's why it's like, you give me a megaphone, I'm just going to be like, everything is wrong. You know, we have to fight.
What was the first, how did you first start speaking up? Was it at events? What did you do to start?
I knew that I didn't have the right voice. I knew what to say, but I didn't know how to say it. So when I was in college, I kept taking public speaking classes. And they would let me, you know, if you've taken a public speaking class, you can kind of pick which subject you wanted to talk about. And everybody kept seeing that I kept choosing health. And at the time, I think it was right after my mother passed away, the first speech that I did was about advocating for blood donation, because it was saved my mom's life a few times. So I started doing that, and I knew, I was like, I have to get over this fear. And so I did that in class. Then where could I go ahead and practice it? My job. So I started doing sales. Doing sales over the phone is one thing, but then when I was an account manager, and I'd have to visit clients to make sure that everything was going well, and then also upsell them. So then why not get paid for that experience? So I took it there. Then I was ready, and when I finally had the diagnosis, I jumped right into the Lupus Foundation when I lived on the East Coast in New Jersey. And so I started to speak at every single walk. I would just like, you know, they always say, does anybody want to get on the mic? Any patients? I would get on the mic. I would just start there. Then it really didn't kick into high gear until I moved from New Jersey to California, and I joined the Rotary Club. And I went to different Rotary clubs and just started speaking in different capacities that were a little bit lower. And that's where I got my real footing. Also making the connections so that people could hear my story and then be like, you know what, can you speak here? Can you do this? But it started off small. Did I get a lot of anxiety? Yes. Were my hands shaking? Yes. And even to this day, sometimes I'm like, all right, I rehearsed in my head, let me just go. It's one of those things when you're on the cliff and you're like, if I look over, I'm going to talk myself out of it. I just got to be like, all right, screw it. Do it.
Do it. Get out there and say it. Did it take a long time for industry people to come and hear you talk to or ask for advice? Or was it it started slow, but it also started with patients and industry people, like clinicians or pharma companies, biotechs?
It started with, it started off slow. Your your definition is correct. It started off slow, and then it wasn't until I joined a patient group where we were talking about interoperability. And for those that are on this podcast and do not know what interoperability is, it's the ability to have EHRs, EMR, electronic health records, to go through the system and be able to transmit through other systems, which ultimately helps out a lot when we're coming through a diagnosis. So I was partaking in this patient group and giving the most feedback, and everybody was just like, how come you have so much feedback? And I'm thinking, I took care of my mom, took care of my uncle's charts, my aunt's charts. Like, I took care of the family's charts before it became electronic, and I was letting them know. And then they said, would you be willing to speak about it at this conference? And at the conference, it had the Department of Health. And when I spoke there, everybody was like enamored of what I said. My husband was in the audience, and I said, what did I say? And he was like, well, it was really good, honey, because what I was done, I had a line of people that wanted to talk to you. And the one guy, I'll never forget, he was from the Department of HHS specifically, and he saw I was talking to someone else. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, when you're done, I'll be over there waiting. I'm waiting just for you. You come over there. And he's like, you have a story. You're great. There's one thing I want to tell you. You need to incentivize it. Don't sound so patient. And he just guided me through that. And from that point on, when I spoke, I changed it, because too often when patients speak, they almost make it like a trauma dump. They make it more like, we don't want tears. We do want tears, but we want actionable tears.
You want a constructive story.
Yes.
You don't just want dramatic.
Yep.
Okay.
That's when I knew. I was like, okay, now I got to start crafting it. And from that point on, it was just everything after everything. But before that, I was just doing a little podcast as someone else that has lupus. Let's talk about it. And I have no problem with that. But to get to the level of when you're getting paid to do it and flown out to do it, that's where it has to change. And that's where, after that, I was able to help out different organizations to get funding for lupus and other autoimmune conditions.
And what's the journey with your jobs? So I know you mentioned you've been in the FDA board, Lupus Foundation of America, your own organization or company that you build. What was the trajectory and what led you to each step?
I started off initially with Lupus Foundation. I've been with the Lupus Foundation for almost 20 years. I started that even before I was diagnosed, because I did that in honor of my mother. The first walk that I did was in honor of my mother. And then I went on to I was the vice president of the autism board in New Jersey. Everybody thought I had a child with autism, and I was like, no, I just like to help. So from then on, I was with the Ronald McDonald House, and then went to, when I moved to California, I was a part of the Lupus Foundation. Well, I still am. So I'm a part of Lupus Foundation of America, Lupus Research Alliance. I'm a luminary. On the Northern California Paramedic Advisory Board, I'm the chairwoman. I'm with the Dublin Rotary, Sequoia Project, the Pharmacy Board for Sequoia Project, interoperability. I am a volunteer with Lupus of LA. I'm on the board for the Hip Hop and Hope Foundation. That's in honor of multiple myeloma. And I have my own company. I'm part of 10 different boards, but let me not just, forget.
I told you, see guys, no, I'm gonna put this in the intro and be like, I told you, I was never gonna get it right.
I have trouble remembering that, just like I have trouble remembering how many things I have wrong. I don't
Thank you. Thank you for existing. Thank you for your desire and passion to help. Thank you.
Oh, it is. So I'm trying to, you want to lead by example here. And I have my kids a part of doing things. I told them they don't have to, they've volunteered before, like to help out the homeless, give out food. We do clothing donations, but they also give blood. So once a month, they'll give blood or plasma in some way, shape, or form. Nobody has to know, but I asked them, we are a giving family. My organization, Beyond the Game Health, is to help out not only regular people but athletes for health awareness, and using sports as a vehicle to do so, because everybody, no matter what, even if you don't even watch sports, there's something about sports. If you see an athlete do it, if Steph Curry says, hey, I'm going to get an exam to make sure that I don't have colorectal cancer, everybody's going to do it. That's the thing. So it's getting that awareness out there. Health is wealth, and that's what I try to strive. And when I say health is wealth, Steve Jobs is not here. He's the person that made Apple. All the money in the world really can't save you per se, but you can be proactive about it so that you can increase your time here on Earth.
Yes. So can you walk us through a little bit of how Beyond the Game Health started, and what's some active projects that you have right now to raise that awareness?
It started because I've always had a love of sports. My sports dreams and hopes were stopped a long time ago, but that never stopped.
Which sports?
I was killer at softball. I used to hit the ball really hard. That's what I say. Shamekka hits balls really hard. I miss doing that, and sometimes I do play. The last time I played was over a year ago. I've just been so busy building the business. But when I had time, there's a local chapter here, and it's for everybody that's in corporate, and we play. It's co-ed, and it's a lot of fun. After that was basketball, and my dad started me out with basketball since I was 5. We were season ticket holders. I was a season ticket holder, and being able to be season ticket holders, you are able to talk to the players all the time. They always have these different events. And I would just see them outside of their element. How they actually looked and talked and walked is different than when they're game time on the court. Yeah. When they don't get the injections, you get to see exactly how they actually walk and what their bodies are really going through. And I said, okay, well, I'm going through my own personal struggles. I've been in corporate for 21 years doing cybersecurity, IT for regulatory and compliance, big banks. That wasn't really serving me. Was the paycheck great? Mm-hmm. Yes. But it wasn't anything that I wanted to be able to say that's what I do. Most times you interview people, and the first thing, oh, what do you do? Well, I want to say something meaningful, because I'm going through my own health struggles, and I know that other people are, but nobody's talking about it. And not only that, people are going through things mentally. So I figured out a reason, if we can do activations, which I have done. I've done both NBA All-Stars for the past 2 years. I did the WNBA All-Star last year. That was in honor of breast cancer awareness. We had a mobile clinic pull up. We talked about the 5 women that passed away from breast cancer that happened to be former WNBA stars. So every activation that I'm a part of, even though I do partner events, has a health spin to it. And because of my network with pharmaceutical companies and in healthcare, getting the pharmaceutical companies to put their money where their mouth is. If they say they want to help patients, well, this is the way that they can help patients. They can sponsor this event. We will, instead of just having a health fair, have something fun where most recently we did our flag football clinic. We have former players. They can sponsor a former player to come out. The kids are happy. They get to do all the drills with them and take pictures with them. We had Jeff Garcia out and Stevie Baggs Jr., and they were signing autographs. They were signing balls. They were actually, instead of just doing a meet and greet, they're throwing the balls with them. They're racing them. That gets the kids happy, moving, and the parents are happy. And also, we did that in honor of sudden cardiac arrest. Too often, when kids are going for sports, they go for a physical, but they don't check out their heart. They don't do a blood panel, none of that. So we had little dummies out there. So in between the drills, they could go out and do chest compressions and see what it takes for if their fellow team member happened to, collapse on the court or on the field. Seconds matter. So, and we make sure that the parents are there because it starts at home. We want them to know this is what you need to do. Let's take care of their health. Not so much getting into the NIL deals where they're getting paid an exorbitant amount of money. NIL does not equal health. They're not putting money away for that. And to make sure that that is something communicated.
That's goosebumps. That's amazing. Inspiring. And it's at the moment, like you're having impact. You're creating events where the impact happens at the moment of the event. Like you're raising awareness, you're teaching, you're getting communities together. It's amazing. That's really cool. Maybe we can do something together soon.
Yes, we have to do a golf thing. I told you.
For
we're gonna have
sure,
to
for sure.
Make sure.
Yes, yes, that's already a yes. Okay, back to a little bit of you. What's something that's a must for you in your daily routine?
Is to take a break to breathe. I have so many tabs open, and that's said a lot with people, but just to leave my phone somewhere. And before I would like carry my phone everywhere or have my watch on so that even if my phone is away from me, I get the notifications. And I'm doing that more where I need to take a breath and just leave it somewhere and not even care if it's going off. Things can wait. Certain things, like I lived my life up until 2 years ago when my uncle passed away. I was always on high alert. I couldn't sleep without having the phone by my head because I was his primary caretaker. Me being so far away, I didn't want to miss a call. My life has always been, I'm always taking care of people.
Yeah.
And I had to roll it back, and I tell people all the time, take care of you, take care of you. And I was like, I got to do the same thing. So now I try to go at least an hour. If I'm going to take time out, I'm going to take time out. Just because I work from home doesn't mean that we're more diligent when we're in the office, and we'll go on lunch break and we'll, go to the store or eat in our car or wherever. I want to take time out to do that or to step outside.
Yeah.
But at least take 5 to 10 minutes, have nothing going on, and just bring some peace back, because that's like the hardest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's making sure that you have some time every day of just you alone time and outside and quiet. And that is what helps you be able to carry on with all the responsibilities that you have going on right now.
Yes, because right now I'm trying to like shut off my notifications, and there are like 50 billion people that are trying to get a hold of me. And I'm like, guys, I have a life.
Between being an exemplar human being and famous is what you get.
I wouldn't even say that. I've said that.
Popular.
But I don't want to say that. When I go into the chronic illness community, everybody's like, "Oh, I follow you, I follow you," and I'm like, "I don't even know." Wow, that's great. I'm happy that you do, but I'm just
because you don't do it, of course, because you don't do it for fame. Anyone knows that. You do it because you're advocating and because it's your passion, it's who you are. That anyone that goes to your profile gets to know 1% of you. Don't worry. Knows that.
I've heard so many times that, oh, you're putting this online, you put your whole life. I was like, no, I don't. I really don't. Come sit with me. You'll see I'm not putting everything online. I'm trying to be open about it. And I'm actually trying to increase more awareness so people understand that it's not really easy. Make it look easy. When I go on vacation and they're like, you got a chance to see this, this, and this. I had less than 24 hours in London. And I went to see Big Ben. I saw the big oh god, I forget what it's called.
The Ferris wheel?
Yes, there was
the
a Ferris wheel
eye,
that you
the London Eye.
I went to all the sites. You know why? Because I paid a taxi
to drive you around.
And they're like, I don't know how you can walk. I was like, honey, who said I walked? I paid, jumped out the car, looked around, took a picture. All right, this is cool. Next one, and get to moving.
I mean, and that's probably what your life is like, because last time we talked you were like, or even earlier, I'm on a plane every other day. How do you do that? How do you keep up your energy? Like, how do you preserve your energy?
Drugs. It's cocaine. No, it's not cocaine. my heart already beats out of my chest. Nope, it's not that. It's
how do you
caffeine.
Do it?
I just do. Like, I can't even put anything into words where there's a specific thing. Honestly, when you're at your lowest and you're trying to push through, especially when you're working out, your body will try to quit before your mind does. So it's just, all right, I got to do it. And even when I go to the airport, sometimes if it's Atlanta, God, I'm not walking that. I can't walk that. It's crazy, even for a regular person. So I always ask for a wheelchair. Um, so I try to get through. If there's cases where I'll try to push through, but getting on a plane and know it, even for one of my very, very good friends, I'm trying to convince her, I'm like, you never visit me. And she's like, I hate planes. And I look at her like, you hate planes? Do you think I don't? I'm on a plane all the time. It's just get on there and you can take Z-Quil, knock yourself out, and wake up and you're at your destination. I'd rather do that than sit in a car. That's what we used to do when the struggle was real. My mom would make us drive from New Jersey to Florida, and I hated those days. I hate them.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I don't care if I got to get on a plane. Somebody else is flying me to where I got to go.
Yeah. It's better for you to get through the flight and actually get to experience everything that you're doing right now. And how do you prioritize it? Are there things that you have to let go of? How
Yes.
do you...
I
What
wouldn't
would
have
be
been able to
one
do this.
advice? So, knowing that there's limitations on energy and there's things that you need to organize yourself and prepare for, such as going to Atlanta's airport and requesting for a wheelchair, which, fair, it's going to help you. What would be some advice that you give someone maybe going through something similar in a way of how to prioritize things?
How to prioritize, I did it strategically. I started my journey of speaking when I knew my kids were going to eventually, like, not phase out, but not need me as much. So I have a 25, well, let me start that over, 28, 25, 18. And I waited because I could not do this and be a very good mom if I had kids that were a lot younger. A lot of people that are my age, and I'm 46, do not have kids that are that old typically. And so I would not be able to, number one, aside from the energy part, number one, be out there that much if I wasn't older. So my advice is, you know what, there are other people that I know that are doing this with little children. God bless them. I hated when I couldn't be there. That doesn't mean that they're being any less of a parent, but that's how I prioritized it. I said, I want to be a mom first. And when that's done, and it's never done, but when I say they don't need me every single day, I'm going to go out and start helping to, in my mind, change the world and help the world. So that's my word of advice. If you're able to do that, if you want to do that earlier than that, having a really good partner. So my husband and I, it was, okay, I'll do this, you do this. And we work together on a partnership. There aren't people that may have a very supportive partner, and that's going to be hard. But having a good support system, no matter if you're traveling or not, going through a health journey, it does not mean that you have to have a boyfriend, girlfriend, just having a support system. Why? Because illness is with an I. Wellness is W-E. So when we turn that from illness, it goes to wellness. That's why we always say we need a tribe. We need to incorporate the whole support system. And that way, you can be well.
I love that. I've never thought about it this way. I love that.
That's part of my
Amen.
speeches. So you just got a little bit of one of my speeches.
Thank you. Okay, to wrap it up, two more questions. What's the part of your job that you think people value the most? One thing.
Education.
Okay.
Education from experience. And when I say the education from experience, being vulnerable about it. I'm not ashamed to talk about any of it. When I say any of it, I literally mean like going through the struggle of chronic illness, and I haven't dated since I was 14, but being intimate, those kinds of things that people don't want to talk about. And I make fun of it so that it's not awkward. But if somebody were to ask me, I would like, yeah, that happens to me too. Like, let's talk about it so that you don't feel alone. It's supposed to be social media and connection, but sometimes we feel so disconnected because people aren't willing to speak about certain things. They want to speak about things that are PC. I don't want to do that. There's nothing that helps. Being in these patient advocacy groups, these focus groups, have shown me that a lot of people rely now on AI to be completely honest rather than with a human, and that's because of fear of judgment.
Yes.
And I do not care, so I'll tell them everything.
Yeah. And then what they're missing out is the human touch. So you're having that honesty, vulnerable, and human. So it's the full pack. Yeah,
Yes.
amazing. And then last question before we go. What's one project you want to get yourself involved on top of everything that you're doing? Something that you have in the back of your mind that you have not started yet.
My clinic. I do have that on the list, and I want to have a clinic that is dedicated to concierge services. Fundraise for concierge services. That means going back to the old days when you see those old movies and the doctor would visit you in the home, having that one-on-one care. I think if we actually looked at the statistics of when that was going on versus now, we could see a huge difference in the way that people, number one, are treated. That goes without saying. But the amount of people who are still alive today, there would be a severe decline in suicide. And people may argue, well, we weren't like taking those analytics, but I really feel as though the biggest issue is not feeling seen and heard when you go to your doctor, because everything is like an assembly line. Go from room to room to room to room to room. If we go back to the days where we can have concierge services and they're going to go visit the patient, there's a huge span of time. You're in the car, you can, start looking at the chart, of course, driving. But my point is you're going to spend more time with that patient because you're in their home. You get to see the way they live. Sometimes that is a factor that a doctor really can't see.
Yes.
They're coming here. What if they're coming to the doctor's office? They look okay, but they live in a house where it's like a hoarder home and you can see visible mold, and that's really what's causing the problem. So I want to be able to have a clinic that would be able to cater to people who would want to pay, but also have it where we could fundraise to offset those costs for the people that come to the clinic.
I think it's a great idea. I think there's already a lot of evidence that could back your idea in countries like mine. I'm from Spain. We're really lucky in many ways because of our free healthcare system. And we do have doctors that come to our homes when we're sick. So nowadays you could pull those analytics and support your idea. So I'm here for it. Thank you so much for the time you spent with us today. Thank you for sharing your journey, your story, advice, and personal things. And I can't wait to have you here soon again. I hope your trip goes well, and thank you so much for everything you do. Everything you do.
You too. Don't discredit yourself. You're diving into this. You don't have the autoimmune condition, but your willingness to help is what we need, is an ally that is willing to drive towards a solution.